I'm Walterlin, Handelsblatt correspondent in the South Pacific, currently on assignment in New Zealand. It's hard to imagine, but even here in this island paradise, the prospect of a Trump win causes concern. Lunatic, idiot are two of the nicest descriptions I've heard, Hitler reborn being another one. Kiwis don't like extremists, but even less they like men who belittle and abuse women. So Hillary Clinton might not be the perfect candidate for many New Zealanders, but she is a woman, and she is a fighter. Kick her, Mr. Trump, and you make her stronger, at least here in New Zealand. Independent thinking, toughness, they are part of being a woman here. After all, this was the first country that allowed women to vote in 1893. So, Mr. Trump, mess with one woman and you are in trouble with millions, at least here in New Zealand.
Mr. Martin Kolling, East Asia correspondent of Handelsblatt in Tokyo. One topic moved the Japanese stock market today. The Nikkei index lost another 1.3%, ending the week below 17,000 yen. One reason, because of the renewed investigations of the FBI into Clinton's emails. The US presidential race suddenly looks much closer than before. The Japanese business newspaper called it the Clinton risk, or more precise, the risk that Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton might get elected president on November 8. In a video, a Nikkei editor explained what that could mean for Japanese stocks. If Trump wins, the yen might rise to 95 yen to a dollar from now 104 yen, because global investors consider the yen to be a safe haven in times of negative surprises or crises. And a stronger yen means weaker profits for Japanese exporters. In turn, the Nikkei index could tumble to 15,000 yen, and if Clinton wins, okay, everything would stay pretty much the same.
According to exit polls among American citizens living in Israel, Trump gets about 49% of the votes, while Hillary Clinton only receives 44%. However, even if Trump gets more, he shouldn't be too happy about that, since Republican candidates in the elections 4 years ago and 8 years ago received about 80% of American expats living in Israel, which of course shows that they prefer him over Hillary, but they would prefer another candidate.
This is Mira Salva in Singapore. India hasn't yet made up its mind who it wants to see as the next US president. On one hand, you'd think it'd be obvious that it should be Clinton, the person who's open, the one who's promoted so much bilateral trade agreements. But Donald Trump holds a strange fascination with them. Firstly, a lot of Indians are suspicious about Hillary Clinton's attitude to Pakistan. They feel she's too soft on the country. They worry about her aide, Huma Abedin, and who has Pakistani roots. Donald Trump, too, has made a big effort with the Indian community in America. He's attended talks, he's praised the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, as a great man, and he has a lot of business interests in India, and he's made it quite clear that he wants these two to continue. Of course, there's also the racism and the anti-free trade rhetoric that both candidates are speaking about at the moment. But it's not as obvious as you might think that all Indians would vote for Clinton.
This is Stefan Scheuer from China. I'm standing here in the center of Hong Kong, where the German Minister of Economic Affairs, Sigmar Gabriel, just attended a huge Sino-German business conference. Although the topic is Sino-German relations, most of the discussions are going around the US election. Especially among the Chinese business community, there are a lot of people shocked by the prospect that there might actually be the US President Trump. They think that this will be a huge uncertainty for the future business prospects, and that there is even a risk that Trump might change visa regulations for Chinese business people traveling to the United States. So Chinese business people are afraid of what a US President Trump might mean for their business.
My name is Kerstin Leitl. I'm UK correspondent for Handelsblatt. Here in UK, people are following the US elections very closely. Right from the beginning on, they have been in favor of Hillary Clinton. So it is with a little bit unease that they now see how close the race to the White House has become. Even Prime Minister Theresa May criticized Donald Trump for his remarks on immigration. But that was before she became Prime Minister. Nowadays, she prefers not to comment on the US elections anymore. Media is very much in favor of Hillary Clinton, even though they see her only as the better option, not a good one. It is a race to the bottom, said one BBC commentator today. The Times thinks Hillary Clinton's biggest problem is her husband. In The Guardian, they already look at the day after the elections. With either Clinton or Trump, we will be left to choke on our mutual revulsion.
This is Alexander Bush from Brazil. I think it's the first time the Brazilians really get a little bit nervous about the elections in the United States. You saw the reactions in the stock exchange and the currency market. The first time this year, the stock exchange lost 5% in 2 days, which is a lot because Bovespa in São Paulo is the best performing stock market this year worldwide. The real is one of the strongest currencies also worldwide, and it lost in a very, very, very short time because Trump was leading the polls. And the dollar was weak, but the real and the other emerging market currencies were weaker even. And this shows a little bit how the next future might be for Brazil and countries in Latin America when Trump wins. Amazing is also that all the big journals send correspondents now to the United States to cover the elections, which changed totally the climate. 10 days ago, no one was watching, no one was commenting the elections, and now it's really getting in the news, in the papers. You get 2 or 3 pages, even the big papers, reporting about that. I think it's quite interesting to see the change in very short of time.
It's Barbara Woolsey in Germany. The US presidential election seems to have fallen off the front pages here today for the most part, thanks to various headlines about Brexit and also Erdogan's continued crackdown in Turkey. But what does seem different is that the idea of a Trump presidency is actually being entertained now, which is pretty amazing considering just a month ago that would have seemed absolutely ridiculous. So we've got this article in Handelsblatt today. It says, when the unreal becomes real. A victory by Donald Trump can no longer be excluded.
Prime Minister Trudeau stays calm, at least in public. We asked him yesterday at a press conference about the possible outcome of an election, and he said, I quote, "One of the things that is normal, that whenever the presidency of the United States goes from one individual to another, there are going to be changes. I am going to have faith in the American political process and reassure Canadians that I will work with whomever gets elected to continue to defend Canada's interest." End of quote. But there's no doubt that the Trudeau government would prefer to work with the Clinton administration. Now, for decades, the Canadians are more in line with US Democrats than Republicans when it comes to values and policies.